Frustrated by the state of contract talks, Cowboys franchise-tagged tight end Dalton Shultz informed the team he will not attend the rest of voluntary OTAs. Schultz already signed his franchise tender, locking in at $10.9 million for 2022 if there's no deal by July 15th. So Dalton Shultz pushing his weight around a little bit, saying, fine, I'm leaving practice because you're not giving me my long-term deal.
Oh.
So as we can see, we got some dilemmas going on in Dallas, and I'm gonna tell everybody straight up that this is exposing more than what we think. Like, it's a lot of people that go cover this, but I don't think people go cover this the right way, because you got to look at this in depth. You got to look at this in steps. So Dalton Shultz exposed the dysfunction of the Dallas Cowboys front office, and that's what's going on. It's some dysfunction going on, and you got to stay to the end because I'm gonna have to explain this. But the first thing I'm gonna do is kind of go through the interview with Sean and RJ, because
I want to be harsh, but I look at the numbers for Dalton Shultz: 63 for 615 and 4 touchdowns 2 years ago, 78 for 808 and 8, a fantastic season. But to me right now, Dalton Shultz is still more just a guy than he is special playmaker.
Yeah. So he's saying with the numbers, he's still just a guy. Is he right? We gonna go through the film on that. So y'all stay with me, because this is one of the few places that's gonna actually go through the film on that. Because that's a big statement he said. He said, I agree with the numbers. I agree that the numbers are good, because you're going to hear a lot of Dalton Schultz fans talk about his numbers. But you got to look at how he's used, and we're going to talk about that.
So I'm always usually sympathetic to the individual, the employer. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, you're Dalton Schultz, man, off of 2 years. Like, you should you really be pushing your weight around like this? Like, who are you, man? You're lucky Blake Jarwin got hurt, and there's another Blake Jarwin and Dalton Schultz that they can find in the rotating door.
Ooh, because he's right. And that's one thing we talked about on this show. When I wrote the Boss Cowboy Guide, one of the main things that I said in a chapter on tight end, I talked about clearing out the room. And the main reason, because when you look at the amount of tight ends that was available, this was the best year to not overpay for the tight end position. It was a lot of former number 1 draft picks that were still good players. OJ Howard, Eric Ebron, Evan Ingram, Hayden Hurst. So it was a lot of players. As a matter of fact, I already showed on the Boss Cowboy channel to where Hayden Hurst was doing stuff that you would never see Dalton Schultz do. Like, never in a million years. Like, on the very first play from Hayden Hurst, you can see him mashed up on a corner. Now, I showed this before, but I'm gonna show this one more time. You can see Hayden Hurst at the bottom, mashed up on the corner, and they send him vertical, and he gets a step on the corner. That is something you would never, ever, ever see in no film breakdown of Dalton Schultz. It's not there. They would never in their life use Dalton Schultz like you see other tight ends, and he only went for $3 million. So, yeah, I definitely, absolutely agree with Sean on you could have replaced him. Let's keep going.
What do you see in his game? Give me the breakdown. Break him down as a player.
I see a safety net.
I agree.
Yeah. He said, I see a safety net. Is it true? Because first, before we talk about the dysfunction that was exposed, we need to talk about, is it true what they saying about him? Or are they being hard on him? Is this a real analysis, or is this just radio trying to look for ratings? I don't think so. I think they telling the hardcore truth. So the best way to do it is look at the tape. So as we go to the tape and we look at Dalton Schultz, it's one thing that's clear. is the job that he's doing is, that's why on this channel I call him Dump Off King, because that's pretty much what he does for the Dallas Cowboys, right? That's why when Sean was talking, he was like, yeah, the numbers look good, but what do you really see when you turn on the tape? You see a guy that's winning, but he's winning more so on outlet passes. You're not seeing anything special. You're not seeing verticals downfield. You're seeing him finding holes a lot of times in the zone, or at best maybe going against a linebacker where he occasionally might win. But mostly all of you seeing is design outlets. You're not seeing a guy that you can't replace because he's so athletic. He's such a different maker as a tight end. No, these are dump off plays. The whole year when you watch him, that's what you go see. That's exactly what you go see. But then Sean was talking about something that's very, very interesting. He was talking about, like, Schultz, who do you think you are, man? Holding out? Like how you go hold out? Like for real, are you really something that special to where you get a chance to hold out like you a star? Is he a star? Because usually holdouts are from your best guys. Holdouts are from guys you feel like, I can't not be without this guy. So what gives him that alpha energy? Now we finna talk about what this whole video is about. It's the dysfunction. It's the Dallas Cowboys themselves that created this monster. And so if you don't believe me, because some people like to call this channel conspiracy theories stuff, that's cool. You can believe that if you want to. So what I usually like to do, since people like to high cap on me and the OC, I just go to people that got way better resumes than us, that's actually saying exactly what we're saying. So I just want y'all to listen to somebody that might be a little bit more credible than me and the OC. I got more skins on the wall. And I just want you to listen, and then we go talk about what created this dysfunction to where you got role players literally thinking they can hold out. Check it out.
In this game, did you put more blame on the coaching or the players in this game?
Now, keep in mind, this is after we lost to San Fran.
Dude, Emmett and I stood in that tunnel before every game. I'm going to tell you this. We looked at each other and we said, we called ourselves double trouble by land or by air. And the day before we hit the field, if we don't show up, we got no shots. Period. That's the whole reason we did that. Because we knew if we didn't show up, we got no shots. Our stars didn't show up. We had no shots. Whenever you got disorder, dysfunction. We can't have our stars putting up role player numbers like 31 yards rushing, one catch for 21 yards, 69 passer rated, and then have our role players putting up numbers like Schultz.
Like who? Wait. Did he name somebody? Did he just name somebody? Let me rewind that.
Role players putting up numbers like Schultz and Wilson. That's a disorder. Trying to make our role player stars, our stars role player. That's a disorder, and the team dysfunction, and our ass is home.
So the playmaker called it disorder. Yeah, so you can hot cap and call me a conspiracy theorist, or we can look at it how it is, that I'm telling y'all the truth, that what's going on and why you got players like Schultz, and he's low-key exposing the dysfunction of the Dallas Cowboys is because they created this monster in their systems. Their systems got role players thinking that they actually more valuable than they are. Just being honest. Because, yeah, it's not his fault because he did his job. But the question is your job worth the money that you trying to get? So let me just ask you a question. What tight end has done bad in our system? What tight end one in the last 6 years has had a bad season? Everybody that plays tight end 1 for the Dallas Cowboys does well. Jason Witten, old Jason Witten did well. Schwam did well. Blake did well. And then when Blake got injured, all of a sudden, you got Schultz stepped up in tight end 1. Because what they doing in terms of their job with the Dallas Cowboys is not something that's not that complicated. It's more scheme generated. It's more dump off generated. And I can already hear the Schultz fans saying, but boss, he's Dallas Cowboy. I mean, he's Dak Prescott's security blanket. No, he's not. He's Kellen Moore's security blanket. This is a fault of the system that we're in. It's the system. So this system inflates your role players. Yeah, if you think I'm lying, just listen to Stephen Jones himself. I mean, I play this stuff all the time, but it's different because it's in a different context. They created their own monster. They created this monster. Schultz didn't create himself. They did. Listen.
Back to the decision to head on Amari, his usage, not just production, but in terms of how often he was targeted, even when he was on the field, it was down. Mm-hmm. What do you make of his relative lack of involvement, especially for someone who's got the contract of a number 1 wide receiver?
I just think it's an offensive philosophy, and with when we had the skilled players that we had, between Kellen and Dak, I think there was a progression of where you threw the ball, and depending on how the defense played you, it would point the ball to certain places where, hey, if they're going to double over here and they're going to double over the top over here, then that's going to dictate that the ball goes here.
Yep. And that's how Schultz got most of his targets. The defense was dictating where the ball was going. So if you wanted the Dallas Cowboys to go away from their stars, then you showed looks to the Dallas Cowboys like you was finna threaten their number 1s or their best playmakers. And that dumb system would then say, okay, let's go away from that. It's a system-generated offense. It's not a playmaker matchup-generated offense. Now, we go talk about this tomorrow because I got a good video coming out because there's some dilemmas and there's some inward tug of wars, and we go expose that. Most people not talking about it. I guarantee most people don't even see it, but we go expose it. I'm going to release that video tomorrow. But that's what's going on. That's exactly what the breakdown is. And that's why you see weird stuff like you see with the Dallas Cowboys. So if you just look at the Dallas Cowboys, it's only the Dallas Cowboys that got weird stuff. So right here, I'm going to scroll up. This is the targets, okay? So you can see this right here. You can see this is the targets. If I scroll down to 104, it's only the Dallas Cowboys that you go see weird stuff like your number 1 receiver equaling your tight end. And that's because of this system. And that's what created this monster. You got just like what the playmaker said. You got a system that's trying to make their stars role players, and they trying to make their role players stars. But I'm gonna tell you something else. It gets worse. It's worse. It's worse than what I'm showing you. It's a culture. This is the thing. This is why I said, and I mean what I say. This is why I said Dalton Shultz exposes the dysfunction of the Dallas Cowboys front office with Holdout. This is dysfunction, but it's dysfunction that they cause. Because what happened, and it's not just their system, it's a philosophy that's over the entire organization to where they give way more priority to role players versus their stars. So let's just go through a little bit of history of why we seeing this. So do anybody remember Jerry Jones after Tony Pollard impresses? He said, Zeke who? Yeah, it's only the Dallas Cowboys that do this type of stuff to where their culture is to attack literally their stars publicly. Remember, this is when he was also saying he was the straw that stirred the drink, meaning I think you are our most valuable player, and he still undressed him to the public. Yeah. And so then the response was obvious. And this is an article by Patrick No-C Walker. He said Ezekiel Elliott agent found Cowboys owner Jerry Jones Zeke who joke disrespectful. And then I like the first sentence. It says sometimes it's the small things that create big issues, and Dallas must now smooth this over with Elliott. Yeah, it's a culture here. It is. I'm gonna keep showing you more and more examples of this culture. He said Jerry Jones has made the Ezekiel holdout as messy as possible. This is another article say Ezekiel Elliott isn't the only NFL star holding out this offseason. It just feels that way because it's in the public. The Cowboys, led by owner Jerry Jones, have waged a very public war in their contract dispute with their star running back. Yeah, I ain't gonna read the whole thing. You can go to, I'm gonna put the links in the description where you can read these articles. But yeah, here's another example. Y'all remember this? A Cowboys owner Jerry Jones takes a shot at Browns receiver Amari Cooper. It's a pattern. This is what they do. What the playmaker was talking about. They try to make their stars role players and the role players stars, but they get a lot of publicity on attacking their own guys. He said Jerry Jones on Zeke holdout. You don't have to have a Russian champion to win a Super Bowl. Now, this is why Zeke was holding out to get paid, just like Schultz. But y'all notice a difference? Shh. It's mouse quiet. They not using the public like they do on they stars like Zeke. Yes, so you get Schultz who get to put his whole chest out. I'm holding out, and he the one that released it. I ain't going to no more practices. Like he a star. But see, they created that. Because see, all he got to do is watch. Ain't nothing gonna happen to me. I'm a role player. Role players get better treatment in Dallas than stars. These are facts. You remember this one? Stephen Jones and Amari. This is public. Big contracts bring big expectations. He talking about Amari. And then keep going. Stephen Jones is playing a risky game with his public comments about Dez. More public comments. Oh, do y'all remember this one? Let me get my head out the way. Yeah. How he disrespected Tank. You don't want to know, man. This is what Tank said. It's disrespectful. I feel like it's disrespectful to me and also disrespectful for what I did for the Dallas Cowboys. And that was with the offer they made to him. Yeah. And then this is another, man, it's just case after case after case of a culture problem. That's why I say Schultz is exposing this. Like a lot of people go just talk about the news of him holding out. We got to think a little bit bigger, and we got to look at the real problem if we go really call it out. The real problem is their overall front office culture of disrespecting their own stars. Look at this one. Say Jones is putting this out there to put public pressure on Dak, Amari, as well as Ezekiel to provide team-friendly deals. Yeah. So you look, I'm literally looking at Schultz get no public attention from our front office. You're not hearing no comparisons to him to other tight ends like you heard with Tank, like you heard with Dak. They treating Schultz literally like he's a real star. They treating him with respect. They having their negotiations in silence, but their best players, they air them out in the public. Y'all remember this one? Stephen Jones on why Dak Prescott needs to take less money for the betterment of the team because of analytics or something. This is when he was throwing Dak under the bus, basically saying we trying to get him to take a team-friendly deal because analytics show that it's harder to win Super Bowls after you pay quarterbacks, which is a lie. That's not true. Peyton Manning won his Super Bowl after being the highest paid, but let them tell it that didn't happen. And this was a public knock at Dak, where he said on 103.3 on ESPN radio, he said that Dak deal must be team friendly. Yeah, keep in mind, this was right after Wentz got a record-setting deal. And then he said, at the same time, I know Dak wants this. You want a supporting cast, Jones said via the Dallas Morning News. That's the way to go down as being one of the great quarterbacks to ever play the game, win championships. So in other words, the reason why it's going to be hard for us to win championships is because Dak is not taking this team-friendly deal. So this Schultz deal is way bigger. It's way bigger than just a holdout. You got to look at the way that it's happening. You got to look at how they're responding. You got to look at their respect that they're giving him versus the disrespect that they gave the guys who really the true leaders of this team. The guys who really played on broken bones and like Dak, like Zeke, like Dez, like all those guys, Tank, like all the guys who really are the true leaders. That's why you're starting to hear leaks, and I already did a video on this about how they already starting to come out against CD Lamb. You're starting to hear little whispers of him not having alpha energy because he one of the stars. And yeah, Schultz is exposing it. This is straight exposing it. That's exactly what's going on.
Is that our offense is antiquated, because they want somebody to be designing more schemes to get people open as opposed to what we were just talking about, allowing your man to beat somebody with timing.
We love that all of our guys want the football. That's the most important aspect. We want guys who want the football. And
see, every time they talk about Amari, he talk about guys. Come on, y'all.
So as the week goes, we have a great week of practice. We make sure we spend the time together on the practice field. I thought that's
he asked you about Amari.
An important part of this thing. When guys practice really well during the week, usually things come out the same way on Sundays. And so
so now I put a lot of what happened with Dak on Kellen Moore. On Kellen Moore.
See, that's system talk. Look, I ain't crazy, man. That's system talk. He asked you about Amari. He used to, and when we have a good practice and we, you are discounting the value of superstars. That's what's happened. That's Scott Linehan part two. Yep. I said, yep, that's exactly what that was. That's why it's a culture problem. Discounting the value of stars. That's what's going on with the Dallas Cowboys.